Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Jean and Panton details reasons for stealing funds from SSL clients. St. James tackling waste collection head-on. And later in sports, a record number of awards for our Cleaner Sports Foundation National Sports Awards. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. And we begin with a police corporal who was yesterday found guilty of murder in the St. Anne Circuit Court. Corporal Alcourt Williams was also found of unlawful wounding in the trial for the murder of a man and the wounding of another at a football match at the Draxall Sports Complex in May 2010. The court heard that on the day in question, a match was being played by two teams from the parish where infringements had taken place and a call was made by the match officials. There was a crowd invasion on the field and several fights began. Corporal Williams, who was attending the match with his 8-year-old son at the time, intervened in a fight between several men, identifying himself as a police officer, and told the aggressor to drop the knife in his hand. The man continued and the corporal discharged his service pistol in the air. Two persons were injured and taken to hospital, where one of them succumbed to their injuries. The jurors deliberated for just under an hour Tuesday and returned the guilty verdict. The police corporal will be sentenced on the 3rd of February. Now, he served the JCF for 17 years. The National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, is reporting a reduction in the backlog of waste collection in St. James. However, the team is calling on councillors in the St. James Municipal Corporation to assist them in a massive public awareness drive to get persons to dispose of their waste properly. More in this report.
The last 3 months in 2022 saw a massive reduction in clearing a backlog of waste collection in St. James. Mark Jones is the public cleansing manager for the National Solid Waste Management Authority's Western Parks and Markets Waste Management Limited. He says in October, they collected 115 loads of garbage. In November, 106. And December, which usually the highest generating waste period, 41.
Sweeping and collection, despite the increase in solid waste generation during the Christmas season, WPM Waste Management was able to maintain collection schedule in 90% of the districts within its waste shed. In December, there was a 61% reduction in backlog. In fact, by Christmas Day, WPM had 0 backlog. The sweeping of major town centers and roadways continued during the period, and the parish was served by 12 garbage collection units on average, 8 government and 4 supplementary units.
Mr. Jones says the enforcement team were out in their numbers conducting patrols while targeting specific communities.
Portobello, Retirement, Providence, Anshore, Hatfield Meadows, Mackenzie Drive, Flankers, Water Lane, Claridge Hall, River Bay Road, and Perry Street. A number of removal notices were served, 14, number of litter tickets issued, 3 $10,000 tickets, and a number of compliance with removal notices were 13.
Illegal dump sites and bulky waste remains an issue. Mr. Jones says some 125 loads of bulky waste was cleared from various communities towards the ending of last year.
For 2023, we are in dire need of assistance from the councillors as well as the Public Health Department in a massive public education campaign to sensitize residents on how to properly dispose of bulky waste as well as the negative effects of improperly disposing of same. Charles Gordon Market, we anticipate collaboration with the St. James Municipal Corporation and the St. James Health Department to remind vendors of the importance of containerizing their solid waste. Additionally, partnership will also be sought with regards to separating the organics generated in the facility. Drums have been sourced and plans are in place for distribution in short order.
Kodian Barrett, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, Mr. Jones gave an update on the fire which occurred on December 18 last year at the retirement disposal site. He says the fire is suspected to be the work of arsonists.
Based on the hard-to-reach area of the site, where it started, and the pace of the spread initially. In light of this, The matter was being reported to the Jamaica Constabulary Force for further investigation. To mitigate the effects of fire at its disposal sites island-wide, the National Solid Waste Management Authority has proactively amassed cover material. Trucks and heavy-duty equipment have been mobilized to assist with tackling the blaze and returning the facility to normal in the shortest possible time.
A press conference is now underway at the Financial Services Commission, FSC, as the Stocks and Securities Limited SSL saga deepens. We'll have details from that press conference in subsequent newscasts. Now, the Bank of Jamaica BOJ in a statement says it is concerned about the recent reports of alleged fraud involving financial institutions and their potential to negatively affect confidence in Jamaica's financial system. The BOJ has sought to assure the public that its supervised deposit-taking institutions, commercial banks, building societies, and the sole merchant bank in Jamaica remain adequately capitalized and liquid. It says all deposits in these institutions remain safe and secure. The BOJ says it is working with the supervised institutions to continuously upgrade and strengthen their internal controls, including ensuring fraud prevention and early detection systems, including through the deployment of advanced technological reporting and analytic tools at globally accepted levels. The central bank notes that in the recent case of alleged fraud at the National Commercial Bank involving a wealth advisor, the stringent internal controls insisted on by BOJ assisted in the early detection of irregular transactions and ensured that the risk was kept to a minimal level relative to the capitalization of the institution. The BOJ says it will continue to monitor the developments in the financial sector closely to ensure the soundness and stability of the financial system. A statement by Jean Panton, which has been making the rounds on social media, has been authenticated. Now, TVJ News on Wednesday made contact with the Justice of the Peace, whose signature is affixed to the document, who confirmed that he indeed signed the document. In the statement, Jean Panton details the reasons for stealing the funds from unsuspecting clients. The statement, which was made to the management of Stocks and Securities Limited, is dated January 7, 2023, days before the multi-million-dollar fraud was made public at Stocks and Securities Limited, SSL. However, the name of Sprint legend Usain Bolt is not on the list of the persons which Panton named in her signed statement. The document details the intricate scheme of how she withdrew millions of dollars from the accounts of over 30 people at the Stocks and Securities Limited. But why did she take the money? In her statement, she said, quote, her father was diagnosed with cancer around 2010, and she was primarily responsible for her parents' care and finances, end quote. Ms. Panton said her father had to go overseas for treatment, and that's when she thought of borrowing money from the accounts of her clients. She said, quote, I don't know how I would pay it back, but that was a solution at the time, end quote. 3 years later, she noted, her father passed away, and again she went to her clients' accounts to fund the funeral expenses. She also noted that her brother tried to kill her mother, and he was committed to a home, which further lent to her digging into her clients' funds again, as she had to cover those expenses as well. Ms. Panton said the ravages of a COVID-19 pandemic and a reduced salary from her company, Stocks and Securities, led to her repeatedly withdrawing clients' funds to cover her various expenses. But how did she do it? The statement said she would use various mechanisms, such as editing a customer's email in an email thread, which would provide consent for the sale of clients' shares and make disbursements to the respective bearers. She says, as the wealth advisor, she would then make a request to the asset management team for the approval of the sale. Once the shares are sold, checks would be requested and given to forbearers who she trusted to change at the bank. The bearers would then take the money to her. Additionally, when clients requested funds, she would put more than what was requested. When those funds were delivered to her, the client would receive the amount they requested, and she would keep the remaining portion. In another case, She said an email request would be made which did not originate from the client, and the entire sum would be kept by her. She says to keep her scheme going, when clients would request the funds or a portion, she would borrow the funds from another account to make the requisite payments. According to the statement, Ms. Panton says she estimates that US $864,614.60 and $18,186,000 Jamaican dollars was fleeced from the accounts of her clients. Now, when we contacted the Justice of the Peace, whose signature is affixed to the statement, he confirmed that he signed the document but did not read the contents. And we now join Andrea Chisholm, who is live at the Financial Services Commission press briefing as we reported earlier. Andrea?
Well, thank you very much, Ashane. First of all, this press conference ended a few minutes ago. The Financial Services Commission, FSC, remained tight-lipped about specific issues linked to the multi-million-dollar fraud at Stocks and Securities Limited, SSL. Executive Director of the FSC, Everton McFarlane, did describe the act as despicable, and he indicated that the FSC became aware of the fraud incident at SSL on Tuesday, October 10. It was SSL that informed the FSC by way of a letter. Now, as reported in primetime news on today is Wednesday, reported in primetime news on Tuesday, we told you that correspondence from the FSC that was released to the media, not from the FSC, information obtained by the media, indicated that the FSC said that the SSL had a culture of non-compliance and mismanagement of client funds. Now, journalists asked several questions in relation to the oversight responsibility of the FSC, talking about the trend analysis based on reports coming out of SSL. But the FSC has indicated that based on the investigations, they are unable to give any details and specifics about that. They did indicate, however, that to the best of their knowledge, the fraud in Jamaica, this has never happened on such a large scale. But the FSC is committed to ensuring that they continue to monitor and oversight and have responsibility for the rest of the financial institutions. But I must tell you that a number of the questions posed by journalists today were not answered because the FSC maintains that based on the investigation, they cannot share all the data at this time. Shane?
All right, then. Thank you very much, Andrea Chisholm, and we expect much more in primetime news this evening. For a peek in the economy, here's Cody and Barrett with a Business Minute.
Business leaders, in response to fluctuating confidence indices, expressed caution and optimism for 2023. They expect the economy to slow, but not to the degree where it falls into recession. Confidence rose 1.8% for consumers, but dipped 1.8% for businesses in the December 2022 fourth quarter compared to the third quarter. Businesses are largely concerned about crime, a lackluster economy, inflation, the Russia-Ukraine war and its impact on shipping of supplies, less jobs, global economic trends, and continued COVID-19 infections. In business internationally, Microsoft plans to lay off 10,000 employees as part of broader cost-cutting measures. The company made the revelation in a securities filing on Wednesday, making it the latest tech company to rethink staffing amid economic uncertainty. The company said the cuts come in response to macroeconomic conditions and changing consumer priorities. Speaking before the layoff announcement at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland on Wednesday, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella said the company was not immune to a weaker global economy.
Because no one can sort of defy gravity, and the gravity here is inflation-adjusted economic growth. And I would say all up in the world, the inflation-adjusted economic growth has been pretty weak.
That's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's Health Report.
In this evening's Health Report, we look at bush teas.
Very often what happens is individuals may be taking one medication that's prescribed by a doctor, and then because for whatever reason, whether it's their cultural belief or some research that they've done, they've decided to stop taking the medication from the doctor. and then they go to what we call the alternative route, where they take a bush tea, for example, or a herbal product. This can result in an overlap sometimes. So the medications that the doctor may have given you might still be on board, even though you haven't been taking it for a day or two. It could still be in the system, and then this can interact with something you're taking that's new.
That's the health report in Primetime News at 7. And now for today's healthy living tip. Avoid freshly picked teas. Don't make tea in the microwave, and avoid drinking extremely hot tea.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, Jordan Fort will have your midday sports report.